memes are basically the mirror that reflect our society. And if you take them one step further, they can even be catalysts for social change, I think. And you look at what like the Pepe meme did in places like China, they can basically become the social glue that hold us together. So like communities, physical communities used to hold us all together, churches, things like that. Now that you don't have that, I think basically tribal communities where a meme is the backbone of that is now the thing that holds a lot of internet native communities together. All right, everyone. So on Empire, you obviously know that we talk a lot about the institutions coming into crypto. And that is why we are super excited to share that we are hosting the Digital Asset Summit. We've hosted this since 2019. It's coming up in London, March 18th to 20th. Don't miss your chance to get ahead of the curve. You can get 20% off with code EMPIRE20. We'll see you in London. This episode is brought to you by the Chronicle Protocol, a cost-efficient, transparent, and decentralized oracle. Chronicle has developed a next-generation oracle primitive called Scribe, which reduces oracle gas fees on L1s and L2s by over 60%. You'll hear more about Chronicle later in the show. This episode is brought to you by Northstake, the secure and compliant staking platform for institutional investors. Northstake's ETH staking service lets institutions earn staking rewards while maintaining maximum flexibility on all of their capital. You can learn more about Northstake's institutional staking services by clicking the link in the show notes or that QR code that is on your screen right now if you're on YouTube. Now, let's get into the show. All right, everyone. From opposite sides of the world, we got the Roundup. You're getting me pre-coffee and pre my makeup, in the morning. So good to see you guys.
Nice. GM, sir.
What's up? And we're getting Santi with a new haircut. So look at that.
The trick is if people don't notice you get a haircut, it's a good haircut. When people notice you get a haircut, it's sort of a bad haircut. But anyway, that's what you get in a hotel haircut, I guess.
Well, I noticed you got a haircut, so I don't know what that says about your hair cutter.
There we go.
Beautiful.
That's all you say.
I'm recording this from the hotel in London. I'm in London. You're in Sydney. Look at this beautiful cappuccino I've got here.
Damn.
Lovely, huh?
Quite
yeah. So I've been in London. I took a red eye out Friday night.
I won't dox you, by the way, but I recognize the plate, and so I know which hotel you're staying at. But I won't dox you.
Kidding me? Are you kidding me?
I've stayed in like every single. Well, actually, yeah.
It's lovely. It's lovely. I flew out here Friday night. Took an hour-long nap Saturday morning, and just have been basically racing since Saturday. So meetings all weekend. I've probably met with 20, 30 companies and some of the bigger funds out here. We have DAS coming up March 18th to 20th, and just like kind of like doing a week of prep work for that. It has left me very optimistic, I would say, about we've been in London for a while with DAS, but it's the state of crypto in London is actually much better than I thought it even was before coming here. So there's like a couple buckets of folks that we've met with. There's the funds. There are the kind of traditional crypto players like met with Copper, met with Bitstamp. Bitstamp and Kraken are the two longest running crypto exchanges. And some of those players, but there's this whole scene of DeFi that's popping up here. Met with the founder of Pair Protocol. They're doing like intense-based pair trading, specifically for perps. It's very, 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 very interesting. There's a whole world of DeFi that's kind of getting created here, and it reminds me. I've always thought that like London lagged the US by a couple of years. It felt like sometimes with a lot of things, maybe not fintech, but everything else they did, they have. And it's cool. It's funny to see that playing out here again. And I think there's going to be this big DeFi scene here in London, probably in a year from now, I'd say. So,
I mean, it's already been there, right? I mean, Aave was there for a while.
Obviously, Argent is. I met with the founder of Argent. Like they've got a big team here, but there's
You have to remember, there's been so many great fintech neobanks that have been started. TransferWise, Revolut. Like why? Because
Monzo, N26.
Exactly. Yeah. Like London's, in my mind, in terms of fintech, would rival, I think the U.S., particularly New York or Silicon Valley. It's a more international financial hub because it sits at that intersection. Connectivity into Middle East, the whole MENA region and Asia. Like, and so London to me is always by default had to think about a lot of these like cross-border issues. Naturally, that's where crypto really plays in. And of course, the administration of Rishi Sunak, I think, is new prime minister recently. They've just been more pro crypto. As an interesting history tidbit, the gold ETF was resisted for a long time in the U.S. and it was first introduced in London, and that was a major breakthrough moment for then U.S. regulators to get on board and list, gold ETFs. And I think you're going to see the exact same evolution. You already have these type of products in Europe and so I think, the regulators in London, my personal experience and anecdotally talking to other founders has been way more forthcoming, way more clear, not perfect, but at least more accessible and transparent, and the intention is the right one. So, yeah.
Yeah. You were talking to was it the FCA or the Bank of England back about staking?
I was running my own validators with the team. And, of course, you start wondering, hey, is this going to be...
Were these ETH validators or was this Cosmos?
No, this was 2018. It was Cosmos. Ethereum was in the picture. And also Tezos. Tezos and Cosmos were the biggest ones. And, we assembled a team, and the first thing is this going to be, how is this going to be treated? Money transmitter, so a lot of these questions, we didn't get good clarity. We reached out to the SEC. We actually had a meeting with a crypto czar within the SEC, Valerie, super knowledgeable at the time. They are, contrary to popular belief, these administrations, they knew everyone at the time. And they were very knowledgeable about proof of stake and all this stuff. So anyways, that was a very big aha moment. But then I went to London, and within a week, we get a meeting with and a response from the FCA. I was like, wow, this is just very refreshing. So I actually sympathize. If you're a company, if I were to start a crypto company today, I would start it in London, probably.
Right. Well, so the FCA, it's interesting because the FCA...
Or Dubai and Singapore or Hong Kong. But just for me, I'm in Europe, so it would be London.
Yeah. So the FCA is the main body here that regulates crypto. They also regulate fintech, and I think they saw the success that all the neobanks, Monzo, N26, Revolut, the list goes on. Basically, the success that they had, especially even competing against the U.S. They're basically U.S. fintech counterparts, and they seem much more open. I will say, half the meetings I'm in, people are talking about the 2024 elections in the U.S. They're like, look, as powerful as the FCA is, at the end of the day, it's kind of all eyes on the 2024 elections.
Absolutely.
So, lot to talk about. The first thing is, as you think about your holiday shopping, I found a gift for you.
Oh, really? That's very kind. Yeah. I think you're
so. I'm going to show it to you.
Yeah.
It is the.
Here we go.
It is the Bitcoin mining Lego set.
Damn. That's might get me to buy Bitcoin.
I know you like your Legos, and we've got the price of Bitcoin. I don't know if you saw the good old corn hit 45K. So
45K in Coinbase, I think it was where it hit actually.
Yeah, it ticked out. Yeah. So, anyways, I
love it.
If you're thinking about this holiday gift for any no coiner friends, I thought you could get this for them.
Absolutely. By the way, if anyone from Lego is listening, this would be my ideal sponsor. I think I collect a lot of stuff, a lot of shit since I was very little. And Legos, I still have Legos from had I not opened these boxes, I would probably made a better return on Lego than crypto. Like Star Wars OG Lego sets are just amazing and super rare. Anyways, I love Legos.
Yeah. I also bought too many Legos in the past. So here's your gift, Santi.
Thank you.
I think maybe we could start with, I do want to talk about good old Bitcoin hitting 45K. ETH is not moving much, which is interesting. I think ETH is kind of primed for a run here. I will say I think people have gotten a little too pessimistic on ETH, but I think maybe the best place to start. Yeah. We can talk about overall thoughts on the market, but the best place to start here. So we posted this video that I kind of posted with this like, headline-y title on Twitter, which I think was Santi thinks 20% chance Sol will flip ETH or something like that. And the reaction to that was there was a lot of anger, I would say, in the reaction. It was a very divisive video and post. And I just from your tweets, I mean, we haven't talked much since then, but just from your tweets, I saw it seemed like you were getting pretty reflective on why folks were so divisive on that. And I would just love to hear your reaction to the reaction. So a little meta here, but your reaction to the reaction of that Solana video.
I don't react to other people and their opinion of what I have to say. I mean, and so I think I do pay attention to the comments, and and look, I go through them because here's the reason why I'm doing a lot of what I do in the podcast, but also in Twitter, is because I like to document stuff. Like in the bear market of 2017, post 2017, I got to writing and publishing in a Substack, Medium then Substack. And to me, that was a very helpful exercise to make sure that I hold myself accountable. And there's no better way in my mind to do it publicly. And so now I'm really trying to just open source, the idea that I had of starting a bank. I went through the exercise. I'm not doing it. But public, like I'd like to do these things now in a public context because it invites criticism. And I think that that's the best way to identify mistakes, faults. There's a really good thread, right? I mean, Mert got involved in there, who runs Lightspeed, the Lightspeed podcast, which is fantastic. And then a couple like Fishy Cat or like there was some really good criticism out there. And so I think ultimately the reason why I do a podcast is to elevate the discourse in crypto, which is really bad, right? I mean, there's a lot of tribalism as there is everywhere else. People like stuff if it aligns with their bags. People don't like stuff if it doesn't align with their bags. I get it. But I'm in a process of, I think it's quite early and it's very unrealistic to assume that you're going to know it all. And so for me, it's, I'm in the pursuit of truth, and there's no better way, I think, than doing it in an open source context. And I'm willing to put myself out there because I've certainly said dumb shit. I certainly am not an expert on anything, but I know some experts exist out there, and I have a decent audience. And so I'd rather invite, the discussion to happen in a public forum because I think that's how we get better as a space, Yeah.
Was there anything that was posted in response that made you kind of question your earlier assumption, or has your thesis evolved since then in any way?
Not particularly. I did actually have a private call with Fishy Cat or Catfish.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I reached out to him and said, look, I actually definitely agree with your take, which it was a very good one. So I reached out and said, hey, you want to come on the pod? Let's actually have you on. And it sounds like he's very critical, and I like that. And so I just reached out. And I had a really good discussion hearing him out, and he made some excellent points in that thread. And we're going to have him on in Q1 after the holidays. And so the discussion that he made, the point that he made, which is an excellent one, is how do you value these things? Like, it's certainly not on a cash flow basis. Like, I mean, you can look at Ethereum and Maker, and like these things don't trade. My hunch is they don't trade on that. And I think it's just an interesting reflection on I think we have to be a little bit intellectually honest and realistic around everything trades at a comp. Everything trades, it ties into the point of Bitcoin. Everything trades at, Bitcoin's 800 billion, close to $1 trillion. Everything is comparable to that, right? It's like, can Ethereum be like Bitcoin? Can Solana be like Ethereum? And that's, I think I'm comfortable accepting that, whether you want to believe it or not. I just think that that's how the market really kind of trades. Now, is there a scenario where everything compresses an order of magnitude? Yeah. Is there a scenario where it grows an order of magnitude? Yeah. Like these valuations are like, if you're doing a cash flow, the terminal value, after 10 years, like 99% of the value of any crypto network is predicated on terminal value. But we're not, I think the point that he made, which is particular to Solana, is this idea of we've thought about the value of Ethereum around it's disinflationary. The block space is there's a high demand for block space. Therefore, fees are high. So, okay, you have L2s, and it's like, okay, if L2s really take off, what's the value accrual to the L1? What happens if you can pay the native token, ARB, OP? What's the relationship between that? How much value translates into ETH? And then similarly for Solana, okay, if it's a really high throughput environment, yeah, okay, you have local fee markets, and so you have like these price discrimination and different fees, but no one I think really knows, like, and even Anatoly said this, it's like his version of success is there's a ton of demand and a ton of applications that get built on top and supported by something, a network like Solana. But he's like, I actually don't know like if that value is going to translate over to the L1. So I think like everything, it's so early. The best I think position that I can be in is being comfortable with things that I don't know and having kind of bookmarking them and saying this needs to be figured out. It's an known unknown,
Right.
and I'd rather be comfortable with that versus advocating something that's actually not correct. And I think you see a lot of that in the community where they don't want to see it. But I'm okay with it. Ultimately, you're always going to get hate, right? If you do one thing, it's decisive, it's divisive. It's divisive, I meant to say. But that's okay. Like, honestly, if you're not raising criticism, then you're probably not like doing anything relevant.
Yeah. All right. So there are two things I want to get your take on. One is the question I think a lot of people are pinging us on Twitter about, which is like, where is this the start of the new bull? Is it up only for here? I think maybe I can take the first stab at this, which is I actually think we are a little out ahead of our skis still. I think the new bull market has started. However, do you remember 2019 when Binance IEOs launched and we basically got this, in hindsight, it kind of was the start of a bull market, where some of these IEOs, but really we had this vicious leg down in March 2020. I think we could be looking. I don't think we'll have this vicious leg down because that was COVID driven. That was
very idiosyncratic,
much more forceful than anything unless there's another COVID-like event. But assuming that there's not, I don't think we'll have anything like that. But there can still be these pretty vicious drawdowns. On up.
Nothing is ever up only. Like,
right.
Even in the peak of euphoria, bull, like DeFi summer, there were weeks of draw. Like, there were moments and days where you had drawdowns and you were questioning, is this the end of it? Is this the end of it? And I think like you're never in a always, like, it's just not right in an always up only environment. Even in those moments, you feel like very uncertain and there's trauma. Categorically, we are in a bull market. Like, these crypto assets have rallied, 2x, 3x, 6x since the bottom. And so you naturally have moments of consolidation like today and yesterday, right? I mean, these things kind of need there are people that take chips off the table, like things need to cool down, funding rates get really high. And so leverage runs up, and then you get like you can plot, and during DeFi summer, there were discrete moments, 2 or 3, where you had a lot of the open interest and a lot of the leverage like wiped out of the system, and it kind of is a healthy reset to keep the animal spirits in check, right? And so I think I believe that 2024 is going to be a good year for risk assets, including crypto.
So then the next question becomes basically, how do you play that, right? So there's like, Chow, obviously.
Yeah.
So I think if you look at a lot of Chow's tweets, he's seen a lot of cycles. He's basically summarizing what I think people who've seen many cycles kind of feel going into this one, which is there are like two ways to play this. There's the mid curve, I think, which is trying to get very like cued on like different what is the most technical thing, and then there's the left bell curve, right bell curve tape.
Yeah, like literally go long, dog coins.
I mean, if you look at Chow's tweets, it's
I wouldn't give it. I mean, none of this financial advice, but do you remember that discussion we had with Joe McCann from Asymmetric?
Yes, I do, and I know where you're going, and I
was hearing him say that, I was like, yeah, if I feel strongly about Sol, then Bonk to me is a levered bet on Sol, and so far it's done a 3x since that. And I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna buy $1 million of Bonk and just ride that.
Yeah, I mean, like if you look at Chow's tweet, I think this is a half kidding, half serious tweet, but he said, GM, I plan on outperforming 90% of this website in the next bull cycle by holding an uncomfortable percentage of my net worth in the original dog coin and PFPs from the fastest chain. So I think he's talking about Solana NFTs here. So there's a high likelihood that he's right here.
Look, this ties into some of the discussion you and I were having around NFTs and why don't I think of them as investments, although they could be good ways to play a levered bet on, Punks, for instance, are a levered bet on Ethereum. Some of these Solana NFTs have been having their moment now, right? And so for me, again, similar to Shao, like half jokingly, I'm comfortable putting a decently sized position in something like Bonk. I think it's very difficult to do it as a fund because if there's a huge drawdown, it's like the career risk of already having a crypto fund is high, and then telling your LPs that you put money in Bonk, like most of these LPs don't get it, right? And I think it just takes, again, it goes back to this idea. I think it takes a fair level of intellectual honesty to say, how does value get created, right? And I think this is the beauty of the crypto journey. You remember even having discussions with normal people, or even I was having discussions with all my finance friends and former bosses or whatever. And they're like, what gives Bitcoin value? And you're like, okay, you really want to go into that discussion? Okay, well, let's talk about value. Like, what is value? Like, this turtles all the way down, right? What gives the US dollar value? And some people think it's gold. Like, this is how, like, poorly knowledgeable most people are and misinformed. And so when you accept that and you say, well, how do you put a price on culture and value and encapsulating that in a digital asset that is, by the way, for the first time, it's like global capital markets open 24/7, 365. People don't appreciate that the range of investment opportunities for most people around the world is fairly limited. China, you can invest in government bonds or real estate. Oh, well, that hasn't turned out to be really nice. So capital flight is naturally going to happen with something like crypto. The government doesn't like it for that reason because they dry up the buyers, right? It's great to be a government when you can only tell your people you can only invest in the local economy. Same with Argentina, same with India. Like, people don't have access to Tesla and Apple like you and I do, right? And the moment you understand that, you invert and you say, well, where's that money going to go? Because now you sort of like have created this ability to like untether money and the flow of that at the speed of light. And it's like explosive. Like, I remember in 2017, I thought this could go on for, I was having a discussion here with Kane, and him and I were both talking about this. Like, I was of the mind that, that run could have lasted for way more, like many more years in terms of the aggregate flow of money. And so, what's to say that, like, some of these dog meme coins can't accrue serious value, and then you can actually will it into existence. Like, someone had a pretty interesting tweet a year or two ago that said, hey, like, what's to stop if you already have all this attention, which is the hardest thing to capture?
I know where you're going with this.
Why can't any of these dog coins, Doge, for instance, become like and you will it into existence, like you do proof of work,
right?
Or it's
right.
a contract. It's like, okay, you could.
So let me take the other side of so the common pushback to this would be if that's all we're doing, longing meme coins and buying Dogecoin and hoping Dogecoin like launches a product because they've got all the attention, et cetera. Like, what are we all doing here? How do you think about that?
See, I think people have these very particular opinions of what is right and wrong in the world, and they try to impose that on other people. And it's the same reason why governments shouldn't interfere with what you want to do with your life. If you're not damaging other people, you're paying your taxes, and you're a law-abiding citizen, they shouldn't meddle with so many things, like the drug policies. And so what I'm trying to say is, I get your point. It's like, what are we doing here? And it's almost laughable, but it's like games, right? So many people are critical of like Charlie Munger. I was just reading a bunch of his quotes.
Did you listen to that interview I sent you?
Yeah, and he was talking about games.
Yeah.
And you could tell that he's a very smart person. I think he can have conflicting ideas in his brain. And on one end, he struggled with the idea where people would spend a lot of time and hours gaming. But then he also appreciated, look, at the end of the day, we're here and we're in this world and we want to have fun and we want to be happy. And if that involves playing a game, then that's great. Like that's amazing. Because if you're happy, then that all of a sudden you're not spending and having a strain on the healthcare system and all this opioid epidemic. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and so like you can, I guess I don't have a strong of an opinion on what other people should be doing, or what they perceive to be valuable, as long as it provides utility for them. And I'm not the judge of that. I ultimately accept that what utility is very subjective. It's like art. And so you can't really impose your worldview on that. All you can accept is pay attention to that. Because I think Doge is telling you something. People, I think it's going to be hard, as is, okay, if you're a traditional finance guy listening to this pod, explain to me how goodwill gets captured in a balance sheet. What's goodwill? Isn't that what Dogecoin is? Literally goodwill. When you can't account for the value of an asset in an acquisition, the value of the team, well, that goes into goodwill. When AOL got, what is it? When like these crazy acquisitions, right. What is it? AOL bought MySpace or vice versa, right? MySpace bought, like, everything was goodwill. Like, how do you account for that? Well, isn't that, like, you know what I mean? So, what is perhaps the more interesting mindset is, hey, why is this thing trading at like 60 plus billion or whatever it is trading at? Why is it capturing all this attention? And trying to understand that. Like, you invert and you say, clearly something here where a ton of people perceive valuable. Well, let's unpack that. And this, again, ties into the whole regulatory discussion too. Like, what are we trying to accomplish by preventing people from accessing, for instance, a Jito airdrop or some of these airdrops? Like, what are you protecting against? Ultimately, what is the intention here? And I think that sometimes we lose sight of that. And I think it's just important to go back to first principles and say, what is the role of government? And just being a little bit more open-minded, which ties into everything. In crypto is sort of a fascinating discussion, because the minute I don't tweet about Solana, I'm an ETH maximalist. And the minute I tweet about Solana, I'm shitting on ETH. And you see all these ETH people now on Twitter saying, oh, there's so much hate against Ethereum. It's like, no, man, I just genuinely got fucking tired of not getting a very clear answer and understanding of how this thing's going to scale to billions of users. I don't see it today. I see it more clearly with Solana. And so therefore, Solana could be the most valuable network. Now, I don't know how they're going to monetize it, but at least I know that's the biggest uncertainty. But I am okay accepting that and going into a position saying, like, if it gets a ton of usage, I think you have a higher probability of figuring out how to monetize it versus you're just a really expensive place where no one wants to interact. And when you have something that's actually really cheap, well, I'd much rather bet on that. It's the same reason why I don't own Bitcoin. and just struggle to justify owning Bitcoin. I'd rather own other instruments to hedge, and I'd rather, like, I don't know.
You ever seen the documentary Feel Good Man?
Yeah.
About the Pepe meme? I think it's a really good documentary to understand like just the power that memes I think basically going back to the bonk conversation and Dogecoin and all of these things, I think you nailed it. Like the same people who hate that we're talking about, buying. My DMs were filled with people who are like, "You guys should not be talking about Solana NFTs on the podcast. That's a complete waste of time." Like, are the same people who don't think that the government should be cracking down on crypto. It's like it's very hypocritical take, and I think this memes are basically the mirror that reflect our society. And if you take them one step further, they can even be catalysts for social change, I think. And you look at what like the Pepe meme did in places like China. They can basically become the social glue that hold us together. So like physical communities used to hold us all together, churches, things like that. Now that you don't have that, I think basically tribal communities where a meme is the backbone of that is now the thing that holds a lot of internet native communities together. So yeah, we'll see what happens here. All right, everyone. So we talk a lot about the institutions coming into crypto on Empire. Santi and I are both headed out to London March 18th to 20th for Blockworks' 8th ever Digital Asset Summit, DAS. This is an institutional buttoned up conference that we've hosted since 2019. I like to joke that it is probably the last remaining kind of suit and tie event in crypto. People are still wearing suit and tie. It's pretty funny, but you'll actually hear from a lot of the largest institutions in the world coming from Standard Charter, FIS, JP Morgan, Framework folks coming out, Wintermute, Van Eck, Goldman Sachs. There are a couple big themes of this conference. One, Bitcoin catalysts, the halving and the spot ETF. Two, a view from the buy side. Three, RWA's tokenization and stablecoins. Four, global regulatory frameworks. Five, institutional infrastructure, including banking and payments. And six, the macro case for crypto. If you have anything to do with the institutional side of crypto, you have to be there. Santi and I got your back. We hooked you up with a 20% off code. It is Empire20. There is a little competition running internally at Blockworks to see who can drive the most number of tickets. So help Santi and I out. Register with our code and you get 20% off. That is Empire20. This episode is brought to you by the Chronicle Protocol, a cost-efficient, transparent, and decentralized oracle that gives protocols verifiable on-chain data. For the frequent listeners of Empire, you know that we talk a lot about MakerDAO. Well, Chronicle Protocol is a novel oracle solution that has exclusively secured over 10 billion in assets for MakerDAO and its ecosystem since 2017. And for the first time ever, Chronicle's oracle services are now publicly available. Why should you use Chronicle? It's simple. Chronicle offers a 60% reduction in gas fees versus all of their leading counterparts. Also, super cool, they have unparalleled transparency when it comes to oracles. Chronicle offers a dashboard that allows anyone to track the genesis and trajectory of the data it provides. This is the first time ever that an oracle has made all of its data verifiable, setting a new standard for the accessibility of on-chain data. Endorsed by a network of the most revered validators, including Etherscan, Infura, Gitcoin, DYDX, and MakerDAO, Chronicle is the epitome of security and reliability in the Oracle space. It's time for a paradigm shift in Oracle development. You can learn more about Chronicle at chroniclelabs.org. Big thanks to Chronicle for sponsoring Empire. Today's episode is brought to you by Northstake, the secure and compliant staking platform for institutional investors. Northstake is purpose-built for institutions that want to enable the ability to move in and out of staked ETH seamlessly while controlling all aspects of their fund management. Northstake's tokenized ETH staking service offers institutions easy, low-risk crypto yield opportunities. It complies with both AML and MiCA regulations, making it possible for institutions to tap into Ethereum's growth and earn staking rewards even through these pretty turbulent regulatory times in crypto. If you are an institutional investor seeking compliant crypto exposure and yield, Northstake streamlines that all for you. To get started, head over to northstake.dk/tokenized-ETH-staking. I know you're probably not going to go to that long URL, so just click the link in the description of the episode. That'll take you right to Northstake's site, or if you're on YouTube, scan the QR code on your screen right now. Now, let's get back to the episode.
I think the more probably important question in everyone's mind is, where are we in the cycle? What, have I missed out? How long is this going to last? And I think trauma is real. I ultimately think, look, the most important thing is to really focus on, don't get carried away in, if you're seeing it in Twitter, then, everyone has bias in their own bags. And so I think the more important thing that I would encourage, I don't give advice, but what has been helpful for me is like document why you're interested in stuff. The nice thing too is you can get a lot of access to these communities. And so if you're using a product, you're getting utility, then I think like the learning curve is really steep. And you think that there's always going to be a lot of volatility in this space, always. And so you want to kind of understand, how do I minimize being carried away? Well, leverage is probably not a good idea. Being overly spread is also not a good idea. Not even knowing what the product is also not a good idea. Ultimately, I think where I've been most successful is like, especially in DeFi early on, was like, I'm using this. There's a lot of value. I come from a financial background. I see value in that. I think there's a lot of utility. But you can come from entertainment and say, wow, like I can make a movie on Bonk. Well, go at it, So anyways, it's going to be quite interesting, I think. I'm very optimistic of 2024, and it sounds like you guys are too. In terms of, I mean, you probably have a great vantage point in terms of subscriptions, engagement.
We have a lot of insights into that other people in the market don't have, basically, by like from where we sit. So we can see, right, when like 25 people from Societe Generale or SocGen subscribed to the newsletter 3 months ago. We're like, there's something that must be going on at SocGen. Sure enough. And I actually want to talk about this news. Yesterday, they announced a stablecoin, right? The first Euro peg stablecoin with Bitstamp. So, our podcast downloads were like, I think this quarter, they'll be the biggest quarter I think every single podcast at Blockworks has ever had. Empire is going to hit a record number of downloads. Lightspeed's like the fastest growing podcast we've ever had. Bell Curve doing well. Page views is climbing again. Like
my Twitter followers are now all of a sudden starting to grow, like 1,000 a week or so.
Oh yeah, mine too.
That's a good regime.
It's just funny. So, we got to get you a little? Should we get you a little Blockworks? The official stamp on Twitters.
Sure. I mean, sure. I'd still need some Blockworks swag. Like, look, I'm a big in being like companies not doing swag, but man, I sit on a chair for 2 years now.
All right. We'll send the damn shirt.
I was like, okay, he didn't get the memo. I'm gonna invest in Blockworks, and I'm still here. Like, what do I need to do?
Right. We'll send the damn shirt.
We'll send the Lego too.
Send the Lego too. Yeah, exactly. All right. So this week, here, let me. I can share this. So, Societe Generale, more often known as SocGen, just became the first big European bank to list actually, I think the first bank in general to list a stablecoin. So I can walk through some of the details of this. Basically, they're launching their own stablecoin on Bitstamp. They're the first big bank to offer stablecoins that track the price of the euro. It's basically a USDC-like product, but instead of US dollars, it's a euro stablecoin.
By the way, huge void too in the market. Like you didn't have, when I was looking USD up doing the bank, I'm like, someone's going to build another USDC, another euro stablecoin. Doesn't exist. It's a huge opportunity. Anyone that's looking at Coinbase's last quarterly report, where they finally broke out the revenue that they're cranking out from stablecoins, I think every major bank's not paying attention to that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can still see my screen here, but if you circle euro dollar, they had launched EURC, but I don't think it really took off much.
I don't think it did.
No. So, anyways, this is pretty cool, I would say.
And so, just for people, if you wanted to have a euro stablecoin, do you have to be a customer of SocGen? Can you trade it? Like, what's the network and what's the? Do we know?
So, So it starts trading today on Bitstamp. Like if you're on Bitstamp, you can go buy this. The funds are held at, I'd say, an arm's length from SocGen. They have a third party called, or they have a, I think, subsidiary called SocGen Forge, which is like their digital asset arm.
Okay.
It can't really be used on any platform. The platform has to be whitelisted first by SocGen, so it's not really freely transferable. So it's not really a comparable product to USDC, I'd say. It's also not compliant with with MyCar right now. So which are the markets in crypto asset regulation, the EU, basically the EU regulation. But you did just see a big fund. Who was it? It was, let me find this. AXA Investment Managers just invested in a digital bond using this stablecoin. And AXA's they're almost $1 trillion. I think they've got about
they're like AIG.
850 billion under management. Yeah, so
they're a massive insurance company.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, look, who was it? Chris Berniski from Placeholder said something that I think it was obviously super interesting. I've noticed it. You're not funding deals with wire transfers anymore. Everyone's taking USDC. So
everyone gets USDC.
So
I have a question for you on that front. So I just they sent the ad. This was a deal yesterday. They sent the wire. It was like a third party firm, basically. They sent the info.
Okay.
And do you do a test transaction still, or do you just rip out the whole USDC?
Depends if I'm feeling, that Google button, feeling lucky.
Feeling lucky. Yeah.
It depends on the size. Like if I'm doing, it depends on the size. Yeah. Protocol wise, I think it's the best practice is to always send a test transaction. And if you're funding from certain exchanges like Coinbase, like actually subsidize this, it's like you can send a test transaction and they'll send one USDC to whoever the counterparty is.
Really?
Yeah. Coinbase Prime, yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I've been sending $1 and just paying like $6 in gas.
But the best practice is, yeah, you should likely do it the same way that
Yeah. I was feeling lucky yesterday. I did it, and then I was like, "Fuck!" And I went to Etherscan. And was like, "Please, please, please, please." So SocGen. I think this is basically one trend that you're going to see in the next market is everyone and their mother is going to launch a stablecoin. TradFi companies, CeFi crypto companies.
Absolutely. Like it's going to be a huge revenue driver, and also the velocity of transactions, I think, is what banks and more banks can make money. And so I think ultimately that's huge for them, right? They have all these deposits. And yeah, I think it's kind of a bit, I think it dovetails a little bit into what we saw today of Jamie Dimon kind of like testifying and saying that if he had the possibility to, as he said, shut down crypto in the US, he would do it. Which is interesting because we had Tyron on the pod and I asked him this question, like how much buy-in there is within the organization.
Yeah, but what about that? Did you see the Jamie Dimon? I can read.
That's what I'm saying today. Yeah,
Yeah.
He said if he can shut down crypto, he would. It's like toxic. Like Charlie Munger says this too. I think in his defense, or like not Jamie Dimon, but Tyron, right? He would probably say we're excited about blockchain, but not crypto.
So let me read this for anyone who missed this. So basically, the CEOs from a lot of the big banks, Morgan Stanley, Goldman, JP, Bank of America, BNY Mellon, et cetera, on Wednesday joined a bunch of lawmakers who were questioning them about how effectively the banking industry is serving Americans. And Elizabeth Warren, senator from Massachusetts, very vocal critic of the banking industry. CEOs, I would say, of banks do not like her. They basically found this rare moment of agreement when they shifted the topic to crypto. And I'll read the quote from Warren, which it's funny. I think this got basically debunked, but they're still leveraging this report from Chainalysis. She said, quote, "Today's terrorists have a new way to get around the Bank Secrecy Act, cryptocurrency. Last year, an estimated 20 billion in illicit crypto transactions funded every kind of dangerous criminal. North Korea has funded at least half its missile program, including nuclear weapons, using the proceeds of crypto crime. So then Warren went on. So she finished her 5-minute segment. She went on to ask Jamie Dimon why, based on his experience leading JP Morgan, criminals are so drawn to crypto. And he responds, quote, "I've always been deeply opposed to crypto, Bitcoin, etc. You pointed out the only true use case for it is criminals, drug traffickers, anti-money laundering, tax avoidance. And that is a use case because that it is somewhat anonymous, not fully, and because you can move money instantly. If I was the government, I'd close it down."
Yeah.
It's crazy because when you speak with anyone in the wealth management department at JP Morgan, which is where they make a lot of money. Obviously, I think that do they have the biggest private bank or one of the biggest private banks out there?
The largest, I think, in the world.
Every private banker there is. I mean, these statements kill them, right? If you're banking with JP Morgan's private bank, like you want the dream would be able to. I think a lot of folks want to custody their Bitcoin with someone like JP Morgan. They could make a lot more money doing that, but you can't.
This is the classic of the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Right.
And so look, people always want to look for a scapegoat. There's no notion of, well, how much of in the whole Binance paid $4 billion in fees. That's like the 7th largest fine that has been placed ever in the U.S. Well, guess what the top 6 are? Banks. HSBC, every single major bank in the U.S. has gotten a fine because they've facilitated money laundering and illicit funds that have been gone through their system. And so I think, obviously you want to, whenever you have the possibility to divert attention to something else, you will. Now, I looked at this today and I tweeted, and my tweet was like, when you actually think about how antiquated the financial system is, it is a patchwork of outdated systems that don't talk to each other very well, that are costly, and people within, I think privately, if you were to talk to major bank executives, they would all agree that putting aside regulation, they would absolutely adopt certain pieces of this because it will streamline back office compliance, make their operations more economic, because like you streamline a lot of this stuff, and also open up new markets, right? All of a sudden, because you don't have to, because KYC is lower, because you can do atomic settlement versus T+2, because you can reconcile everything faster, you don't need as many people. Like that meaningful translation in basis points can then allow you to service other clients, other markets. Like, it's so obvious to me that this is going to be the way forward. Not only that, but like, I'll encourage you to do something. Whenever you go talk to a finance friend, don't even mention crypto. Just say, hey man, imagine a world where you can minimize counterparty risk and inspect in real time your counterparty's position 24/7, 365. In real time, auditable, you understand where things are, you understand like that exposure risk. And they're like, holy shit, that'd be great. Like, we could do so many different derivatives. We could, like, their mind just starts, their imagination goes crazy. I've done this with like 10, 20 of my friends that are in hedge funds and private equity and banks. But the minute you say crypto, they're like, oh, no. And look, rightfully so. There's smart contract bugs. I get it. But that can be solved.
Yeah.
Look, it's going to be a classic innovator's dilemma. I actually think if it's not going to, one of these banks like SocGen is going to realize that they can like move in this direction and innovate itself. Newspapers went through this in online media and publications, like no different. Yeah. So
where it really gets fun is
part of the Coinbase thesis is it just becomes the better bank.
Right. I mean, where it's going to get really interesting is once shares of Apple and basically equities are tokenized essentially. And I think the tokenizing real estate is a fluffy narrative that I'm not too excited about. But what gets really interesting is tokenizing equities. And the reason it's going to take so long to do that is because of how much money the folks who sit in between all of those transactions make, whether it's DTCC or JP. I think one of JP Morgan's biggest clients is BlackRock, right? They make hundreds of billions of dollars a year settling BlackRock trades, or sitting in between those trades. I'm not sure if the correct word is settling there, but they're so incentivized not to create a more efficient system. It would wipe out tens of thousands of jobs. So it has to be created by. I mean, I had an awesome meeting with the CEO and CCO of Copper. I don't know if you know the Copper team, but I mean, I'm not sure how much they're. I think what they're building is not going to be too relevant in 2024, 2025, but 2026, 2027 in the tokenization space. Like it's very, very cool to see. So yeah. Let me. There's another thing that launched this week, which was Coinbase launched send money anywhere you can send a link, easily, instantly, and for free. So you can basically do this. Send a link anywhere. It sends money. What do you think about this?
Huge. I mean, it already exists. There's an app in Solana. There's another portfolio company of mine called Arcana that has like Send It. There's also like in the early days of Bitcoin, you could do this too. It's huge.
It's funny. I remember doing this in like 2016 or something, and they must have taken the ability away, or 2017.
It just didn't go anywhere. But like the important novelty here, I think, is it's just Coinbase has huge distribution.
Yeah. So when the recipient clicks the link, it takes them into the Coinbase wallet app. They can claim or direct them and they can claim directly inside the wallet app, or it takes them to download the Coinbase wallet app on iOS or Android. They can create a new wallet in just one click. They don't have to do all that. I think they do the KYC stuff later. And if I thought this was a cool feature. If the funds are not claimed within 2 weeks, they automatically get returned to the sender. I thought that was a pretty nifty, cool feature.
It's like Venmo, but just another way to do it.
It's like Venmo, but Venmo's only supported in the US, and you can't withdraw your funds same day unless you pay a $10 fee. Right?
That's right. Yeah. No, it's huge. I'm very excited I think stablecoins are the Trojan horse of this industry, and you're gonna see just way more non-speculative demand for stablecoins, and it's up only for stablecoins, I think.
Yeah, I think PayPal. I mean, we'll see what Venmo does on this front, but I would assume Venmo launches some competitive thing because they are owned by PayPal, and PayPal launched PYUSD, right? Their stablecoin.
You know what a product that I'd want to see? Give me the ability to send the stablecoin, and at the same time, you can mint an NFT. I mean, imagine a world where you start sending stablecoins for various reasons. You pay for something, you send it to a friend, you settle a business transaction, you append information meta into the NFT, which or in the metadata of the transaction, that can be shielded with with zero knowledge proofs, like, right, of course, but you can effectively, it would be really cool, right? All of a sudden you have like real information that you append as to why you're sending a certain amount of money, the reason for that, or just thank you, like, hey, if you're a brand and you have a loyalty customer, like you just send an NFT.
It's funny. I used to do this with in 2017 with Uber drivers. When we would talk about Bitcoin, I would just be like, oh yeah, just drop me like because you know how you get the fake cell phone number or whatever from them. I would just send them like $5, $10 of Bitcoin or something. But you lost the ability to do that. Now you can do that again.
Yeah, that's really exciting to see. Coinbase continues to out innovate, man. They just increased the leverage on their perps. Like, obviously,
they should do a holiday campaign around this. By the way, like send.
They've done some great videos recently on like upgrading the system. The stock has been on a tear. I mean, I think a lot of it is short covering. Like, at some point, like 33% of all of Coinbase float was being shorted or borrowed, so shorted. And I think a lot of people just got blown out, and they're covering the short. And the stock has gone, it hit up to 148, 140 something, close to 150. I mean, it was sitting at 30 not too long ago, 70, a month or change ago. It's crazy, right?
You did all right.
Yeah, I mean, I've been very public as to why I think it's been properly neglected and mispriced, but everyone should go do their own work, and none of this is financial advice or any advice for that matter.
Anything else this week? I gotta jump to that meeting in a few, but anything? Sotheby's is doing a Bitcoin ordinal sale. I haven't read about it. I just saw the headlines, but
I'll leave it with things I want to continue to talk about in the next episode. Definitely ordinals. Seeing a lot of activity. Crazy, not just in price, but just divisiveness again within the Bitcoin community.
We should have, who we should have on is Udi and
Eric.
I can I'll ping Udi. Maybe we can do a little Bitcoin chat with him about taproots and ordinals.
Yeah. We're due for an update. We had Manib earlier, but yeah, that would be great to have very because I think he's building like this direction. Want to continue to unpack the experience of the Solana thesis and other kind of. I want to do an episode with this catfish guy around at the start of the year at let's poke holes at everything in crypto. And I think that's going to be an important episode. And it could be actually multi-segments. A bull market, because it's in those moments where we stop poking holes and we do, and there's mistakes made. So let's try to avoid that. Right.
Agreed. We have some good content coming out soon too. Did we have Immutable? I don't know if that episode.
Here with Robbie, they just announced obviously great partnership. Merit Circle is moving over. I think gaming as a narrative is totally neglected. Kieran's here from Illuvium too. I was talking to Key. Yeah. Just gaming is going to be a big catalyst in 2024. In my line of sight, I invested in over 40 games. A lot of them are going to go live next year.
Yeah, so it's funny. So we're recording this on Thursday night. I'm going to Wintermute's office and doing like a 2024 predictions talk with Yevgeny. There's like a couple of us on this panel. There's I think about 150 people coming to Wintermute's office, and it's me, Yevgeny, and a couple other folks. And I was looking at everyone's predictions because we all submitted our predictions ahead of time. Everyone's mentioning gaming at least once, sometimes twice. So.
Oh yeah. Time. People should go listen to that episode that I recorded in person with Robbie. And I really enjoyed that conversation. And, as always, tweet at us or drop a comment on Twitter or on YouTube if you have any questions or, we're saying dumb shit. We want to know. We do a lot of that.
Yeah, seeing the dangerous YouTube comments. Oh, also people should register for Das London. Empire is close to flipping on the margin. Yeah. Hit that. Yeah, Empire 20, baby. You got the code. So we are almost. I cannot have Mike beat me for another week here. This is killing me. So Empire 20.
Come on, give Yano a break. Otherwise, he's gonna have a nervous breakdown. Okay.
Truly,
thanks everyone for listening as always, and we'll be here next week. I guess.
See you, folks. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching today's episode. Really hope you enjoyed it. We wanted to take a second to just remind you about our upcoming Digital Asset Summit in London, March 18th to 20th. Santi and I got your back. Seats are limited, and we hooked you up with a 20% off discount code. It is Empire20. If you heard it earlier in the podcast, there's a little competition running at Blockworks to see who can drive the most number of tickets. So when you register for the Digital Asset Summit, make sure you use our code Empire20. See you in London.